That's like taking butter chicken off the menu, right?
But it's always there. You just have to ask for it. Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm Roger.
And welcome to The Middle,
where we try to have thoughtful conversations
about awkward topics
on our search to find the middle.
That's fatphobic.
I don't build wall. I just own halfway to seawall.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
I act as if God exists.
Put your masks on.
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Andy, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, I've been okay. Definitely had one of the more severe food poisoning episodes in my life.
You do need to tell. How many mushrooms did you eat?
I couldn't help myself. It was just too heavily discounted at the Asian supermarket to buy them from Woolworths this time. No, it was, yeah.
I have to say, obviously you've been through the experience on your end, but on my end, normally on a relatively frequent basis, there is like a WhatsApp exchange kind of happening on something related to the podcast or whatever, and you just went cold for like 2 or 3 days. And I didn't, and it's okay. Like that's 2 or 3 days is like totally, that's in line with.
Sometimes you just need a break.
You know, that's not divorce territory or anything like that. But it was just, it was unusual. So I knew something had happened.
Thanks for checking on me.
It was
You're just like, oh, something's wrong. I'll just wait and see what happens. It was, I was so bad, man, that I didn't even look at my phone. I absolutely didn't even touch it. I traced a path from the couch to the toilet, just like over and over. If GPS was tracking me, it sounds very comical, right? Like what is more comical than someone like having the runs, right? But the reality of this particular strain was like horrific. I was in so much pain. I would have gone to the hospital if I wasn't so worried. I'd like shit myself if I wasn't next to a toilet for like 5-minute increments, right? And yeah, it just really did a number on me. I lost within a bit over 24 hours. I lost about 4.5 kilos. It was a nightmare. I couldn't even rest, right? Like there's also your body waking you up every 10 minutes to half an hour because you need to like shit yourself or throw up or sometimes both. You know, there was a moment where I was on the toilet but hugging a vomit bowl. Like that's all you need to know about how crazy the situation was.
So you did get a new camera. Did you film any of this?
They say that the best camera is the one that you have on you, and I did not even have my phone on me. So yeah, come to think of it, I'm sure there are people who have live vlogged their food poisoning. I 100% guarantee that this has happened.
I'm pretty confident as well. A search on YouTube would probably find that.
Oh yeah,
pretty much straight away.
What would really disappoint me is the views they probably have. It doesn't surprise me that someone has attempted to make a vlog or an expose into their food poisoning, but it does disappoint me that there are people who want to watch that.
Well, I think it's probably more for the humor, which is an appropriate segue into what we're talking about today, which is YouTube.
Yeah.
And I guess I think it's probably worth touching on like how it's evolved, right? So do you know like the origin story for YouTube?
No, not really, actually.
So like I actually didn't know this until just the other day when I heard it, that YouTube actually started off as a dating website.
Oh, you're kidding, to like house bios.
So the story is that these guys came up with this platform to host videos. I don't know, like kind of goes back to like, I suppose at that era where maybe the dating thing on the internet hadn't quite been tapped, and they thought that this could be like a way of doing it. So they have these videos, and the whole thing, I suppose a video is a way you can connect with people more multidimensionally than say, you know, like a text message or
I don't think it's even that revolutionary, because my uncle used a dating service back in the day, and back before all the apps, they pretty much took you into the agency. They put you in front of a room with a camcorder, and you recorded a reel. I literally recorded a cassette that said who you were, like, you know, what you're looking for, that kind of stuff, what you like. And then ladies would also come then into the agency, and they'd be able to select from all the different cassettes, and then you'd choose, 4 or 5, and they put them in and you'd see them on the TV. So I think it's like just a digital version of that.
Yeah, so I think that was the idea, and then I think what happened is they realized that no one wanted to like do that, right? And there's this like famous story where they went and tried to pay women like $20 to upload a video, and there were no takers. Like, so they couldn't even pay people to upload videos. So then at some point, probably early on in the process, they figured out that's not a goer. So they just became just a video hosting platform, and then I suppose they went through the evolution. But like, I think it's interesting to kind of bring that up because YouTube today is like completely different to what it used to be like, right? In so many ways. So the essence of it is the same in the sense that, yeah, it's a website you can go and watch a video, but it's just evolved like so much. And yeah, I'm curious, like, well, what were your first experiences with YouTube? Like, when do you have like first have a consciousness of using it and like contrasting it to now, I guess?
Yeah, like for me, the whole explosion on the internet and actually these kind of things were like almost linked to the coming of age thing, and as a result, it was used for fairly inappropriate and comedic means, right? Like looking up videos that were meme-ish or comedic in nature, right? Like Funny or Die videos, that kind of thing. So really, it was just like a way to look at that kind of stuff very early on, and there was never any true credibility to it, if you know what I mean. To me, it was just like something for fun. It wasn't serious, and this idea of like entertainment, but in a very internet way, so cheap and nasty and usually quite lowbrow. And it's really only since the Google acquisition of YouTube that I think that it's really turned a corner, and you now trust it for certain information and finding out certain information quickly. It's not something that I used to rely on. What about you?
The only thing I would add to what you said was music, right? Because it was this place where music videos were added, and not just like to listen to the music, but like live music. So you'd watch like clips of bands that you liked or whatever playing live with footage in a way that you could never really access in any other way before YouTube. So, you know, maybe that like a band would have like a DVD of one concert or whatever, but this suddenly gave you access to like 20 concerts, you know, whatever for, you know, whatever given song. And that was kind of cool because, you know, at that time, like was quite interested in music and just checking out the latest things going on. And early on, YouTube's always been quite music oriented as well. And I think it's even still is today. And kind of like you, I think YouTube pioneered a few things where, you know, things like, I think they were the first sort of platform to deal with, for example, manage rights, content rights in a way that actually made the platform and the site kind of survive and thrive. So rather than like the media industry saying, no, you can't have these videos on your website, we're just going to shut you down as a result of breaking copyright or whatever, they actually like leaned in and said, no, we will work with you. We will have our rights hosted so long as we get some cut from it. And that, I think, really unlocked the power of YouTube. You
just brought back a memory, actually. And I remember for a while, and I don't know whether you had the same thing, this phenomenon called being rickrolled. Do you remember? Is this still a thing?
Yeah,
I never see it anymore.
So my son, he like literally this year, we went to Kmart to make a mug that had a picture of Rick Astley and the lyrics "Never Gonna Give You Up," so we could rickroll people when they come and want a cup of tea.
Really, I'm very surprised that is still a thing. I'm very surprised because you know how like the internet moves on so quickly and these things become, you know, lame and stuff like that.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm very. I don't understand how your son can still be into Rick rolls and yet he's already moved on from Stranger Things or whatever because it's too passé. But I remember that for a while, and while you were talking about music rights, I was like, think of how many times people have used that song, Never Gonna Give You Up. Do you think he gets paid every time that happens?
Well, you realize he and just to underscore like how contemporary the Rickroll phenomenon is, he performed at Glastonbury this year.
I didn't know that.
This is contemporary stuff, right? So yeah,
that was
he
one
must
of the
be
original
mozza, but
like internet memes or whatever. The Rickroll.
Actually, the other one was the Trololo guy, like the Soviet era baritone singer that in the 70s or something recorded some song on, I don't know, probably Soviet TV or whatever. You know, like I'm not going to sing it, but you know, it goes so you know, something like that. That he's like the Russian Rick Roll.
Ah, man. Yeah, it's yeah. So, do you think he gets paid?
I think he's doing very well, actually. Like whether it's because directly he's getting like
Notoriety,
money from the YouTube rights, or he's got enough like affiliate deals that now that he can. I think he's probably the best thing that ever happened to him was becoming an internet
no
meme.
way. I mean, what's the end of that rainbow? Like a menu log sponsorship?
The alternative for this guy is not, you know, selling out stadiums around the world. This is the alternative for this guy is like probably working in some office job as the has-been pop star from the 80s, right? So this is a good deal for him. And hey, you know, Snoop Dogg, he's not. I don't know that he's like B or C grade, right? He's
yeah. I often wonder, like,
he's in the
who like
Madame
backed up
Tussauds.
the truck on the menu log advertising budget and just said, "Get me every celebrity that is willing to do this. I want them."
even if they're
Just like,
dead.
especially if they're dead. But yeah, I mean, YouTube's just crazy. Like, also, you have to think of how crazy an idea it was back in the day, because it's not, the infrastructure wasn't there, right? Like, YouTube was around back when internet bandwidth was like tiny. The idea of hosting videos
I think that's
was
why
just crazy.
But I think that's why it was why it took off, because it actually managed to work out a way to show people videos from their browser in a seamless kind of with a good user experience. I don't think that had been done.
Yeah. And I think the streaming in general, it's like, it seems so basic now, but it actually involves a lot of technical challenges, right? And even more so in this idea that anyone can upload YouTube videos. That it's just like totally free. And in fact, I kind of looked up, I don't know what the latest is, but I know back in, I think, the end of 2022, for every minute that passes, 500 hours of YouTube is uploaded.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is crazy. It's like absolutely, and I'm sure involved in that number is a bunch of bots just like pumping horrible things out, right? Of like meditation sounds or, you know, swirly pictures or whatever. But that is just insane. Like there's a place for all that data on servers somewhere, right?
So maybe you want to talk now about the algorithm, right? And how like it's still the same thing, right? So YouTube fundamentally is still the same thing. It's this place you can go and you can click play on a video and watch it, and it's in your browser and all that sort of stuff. You know, now it's on different devices, all that. But I think the area where it's very different to before is when we started on YouTube, it was this thing where you very much, it's like you search for a video you want to watch, or you might click a link from another website, or it's very much you have to go and find the video you want to watch, and that's kind of how it works. Whereas now it's YouTube kind of really has built this engine of like either like recommendations or giving you really appealing content, like the up next video, where you get in those cycles where you just never stop watching because there's just one after the other, and recommend the next, so it's, the algorithm is now this really dominant thing, and it hasn't just been this thing where it helps you kind of understand which video is good to watch, as opposed to like it has all these feedback loops with creators in terms of what kinds of videos they create. So also the content has changed too. So it's not just your user experience, it's also the content that's on it's completely different to, say, 10 years ago. So I'm curious, what's your take on all of that?
It's changing. So to your earlier point, I don't know whether it was just the algorithm was fundamentally different at the start of the YouTube platform.
Well, I don't think there was an algorithm.
There was, but the up next has always been a feature, but it didn't take long for you to get some truly wild suggestions for the next video, suggested video. And I don't know whether that's just a depth of content thing or the algorithm, probably both. But I would say that I actually really hate the YouTube algorithm, and mainly because if you are a user who is not engaging, right? So maybe you've got to log in, that's all you have, right? But you're not really like liking things and following things, and you're definitely not commenting Like I don't comment on things, right? I don't engage in that part of YouTube. It doesn't seem to be able to stick you to what you like as a result. And I know that's a bit counterintuitive because you're not liking anything, you're not following anything, but I can't tell you how many times like I might like a certain creator and then I just wake up one day and I go, I haven't seen them in ages. And it's because they haven't been served up to me. And I've just like totally forgotten about them. They've been replaced with another person. So I don't like that part of it. I don't know whether you find that happening as well, but maybe it's just the way that I interact with the platform.
Well, I think like the algorithm, things like likes and subscribes and all that stuff, it's only relevant to the algorithm if you're someone who does that. But I find the algorithms actually works really kind of well, right? At least in terms, I mean, so the algorithm's goal isn't actually necessarily to give you content that upon reflection, on your deathbed, that you can say, yes, YouTube gave me the best videos that I really take great joy in watching, right? The algorithm is geared to provide you with the video that's going to keep you on the platform the longest in the moment, and keep your attention,
but
right?
on that though, right?
And
like just to use my example, I'll use a real example. I went down this rabbit hole of watching the Hodge twins, and they're these two African-American brothers, and they've done a whole range of things. What they do now is different from what they did back then, but they're just like these humorous kind of bros. They talk about life, they talk about working out, and I must have watched, a couple of hours of them, and that's what I mean. And then one day I just woke up, and they were no longer on my like homepage. And it took me a while to realize like they weren't there anymore. And I just look back, I'm like, why aren't they served up to me? Like what has the algorithm perceived that I no longer want to watch the Hodge twins? And I found that really strange.
I can't unpack the algorithm, but it's if the likes is only just like one very small data point into it, right? It's far more interested in how long do you spend on videos, which ones do you click on, which ones, what are your search words, it's built like a profile of you. It's like you could like no videos and it'll still know who you are, right? It'll still have a very good sense of what you're about and what you're going to watch, right? And so it's like even just like how long you'll spend on a video. So one of the things with a video like the one you just mentioned, like it's a series, right? So there's probably even a part of the algorithm, and I'm not sure if this is what's happened in your case, I'm just speculating, but it could be that the algorithms sort of come to the conclusion that, well, you're loyal enough now to this thing that you'll go and find it yourself. So what I want to do, my job now, is to feed you up something different. So you'll not only go back and watch and search for them and watch them, but I want to feed you something different to expand your horizons. So, you're not just keep going back to the same restaurant, but you might try a different restaurant, and then I'll get your money, more of your money, that.
Yeah, but that's like taking butter chicken off the menu, right? It's like, no, give me the suggestion after.
But it's always there. You just have to ask for it.
If I don't see butter chicken, how am I going to know I feel like butter chicken? Sorry, Hodge twins. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious, right? And I think that's the thing with these algorithms, right? You don't know, right? Like we're speculating. How nefarious are they? Like how calculating are they, right? And I think that's the part that's very mysterious and sometimes I think I don't like. But anyway, we're talking about YouTube videos here, not life and death. But yeah, I also find now, because the way attention spans are being whittled down further and further down, it's very, very rare for me to watch a 10-minute YouTube video unless I'm having focused time on some kind of tutorial-based thing, or it's hella entertaining. It's like comedic in nature. I find it very, very hard to do that, and I do wonder. So you're never really getting to the end where there's a new suggestion, and then they have to find other ways to, like you said, take the information that they have on you and do that. It's not like they go, oh well, Roger's only ever watching 3 minutes out of the 10, so I'm going to start suggesting 5-minute videos for him. That doesn't seem to happen for me.
This is not how YouTube's worked, right, in the past, right? this is a relatively, I mean, when I say relatively new thing, like I'm sure this was, sort of around kind of maybe 10 years ago, it's starting to emerge. But this is not like the first 5 years of YouTube, for example, wasn't like this, right? It was a lot more just sort of, here's the place you can host a video, link to it and search for it, find it, watch it. And so maybe that first 5 years of YouTube, it was people just making videos or whatever, and people who want to watch it, finding it and watching them. But this whole process of like the algorithm kind of feeding up and determining the success or failure of a video in a way that it wasn't in before has totally altered the kinds of videos that get created. And I remember watching this or reading this article about this guy. I can't remember his name, but like my son used to watch him, and he had these like box fort videos, right? Where the whole thing was he would make these mega epic like box forts, right? Not just kind of like ones with like the leftover boxes from moving house or whatever, like literally would go to buy the bulk supply of boxes and then like rent out like a massive warehouse and then build like a massive box fort thing in the, just crazy stuff. And this article of it said, look, I made one box fort video and then it was like, it just took off. And I realized like, I just have to make more box fort videos. And this guy's making like however much money out of these box fort videos because he's grown the channel. And then he just had this line of like, but sometimes I just feel like, is this all that my life, all that will be of my life, making box fort videos for kids? Like, is this all that there is? And it's just, like the power of YouTube to turn this guy who probably would have been in college and maybe become a lawyer or something, and he's like making box fort, in a warehouse. Like, it's just like that kind of, this is the algorithm intervening into the real world, like having real world like consequences for people.
Yeah. Again, is it the algorithm or is it consumer behavior? Right?
Well,
like, and I just, that's the part that makes me feel.
Who would have thought?
Really like uneasy that that there are enough people interested in seeing an epic box fort that this guy can make a living off it, and not only a living where he is rejecting almost like, because.
But this is what's so amazing about YouTube, like as a concept, right? Is that there's no TV executive 30, 40 years ago that would have come up with this idea. Like, there's no one that would have, or even if someone came up with it, they would not have backed it. They go, that is just stupid. Like, what are you thinking? You're fired, right? And here's some guy who just made, like, just through trial and error, found this thing that connected with his audience, and he's built this whole successful channel or approach to it out of it. And it's,
I know it is actually,
it's
really
amazing,
right? It's like Darwinian, right? Like pure Darwinian chaos, right? And I think that the part that I'm not so sure, and I could probably extend this to all our social media chats and what we've done before, is that competing for is the prize attention, because it seems to be, right? It's in this kind of new age, new economy, attention seems to be the commodity, right? It seems to be the goal. And I'm not sure that is always a good recipe for, like you said, fulfillment for the creators, or even just society in general. Like, I think that we can't look away from a lot of things. Doesn't mean it's good for us, right? Or doesn't mean that it's gonna provide lasting utility. So I don't know. I feel uneasy a little bit that that this is the way some of this stuff is heading, and you don't have to go far, right? Like, take a sideways step from traditional YouTube, and now they've caved under the pressure of TikTok to make short form videos that are vertically orientated. So people are primarily looking at these things on their phone, on the toilet, or God knows where, crossing roads, definitely. Driving. I saw people looking at TikToks and stuff driving. I see that happen all the time. Our attention is just being sucked up, right, on these like crazy inane videos. And if you've looked at some of them, they are the lowest scum of what humanity has to offer. I am talking like let's be really honest here, right? Like how bad some of this problem is, right? And this is the algorithm working, right? So the algorithm, and honestly, my search history,
There's just before we continue. This is your algorithm unpacking your
actually,
personality.
we share a profile at times, so it's ours. But I'm serious. So go onto our shared YouTube profile for the middle. Go into Shorts. That's it. You're not typing in a search. You're not doing anything like that. And you and I know we've used that channel for our own projects and tutorials. You will see women simulating hand jobs, bouncing up and down with their butt cheeks, people pretending to simulate like all manner of sexual activity. You'll just see.
I don't know, man.
You will, or you'll see.
I'm sure it's there, but
pranking. People doing weird pranks with this weird overlay of Indian.
All right, I don't know. I think it knows. I think it's serving it up to you. So, all right, I'm going to log into our account because I don't. I think it. I
don't look at that much.
I think it thinks we're bipolar, and when it's logging in on an iPhone, it feeds up all this.
This must be what the average iPhone user wants to see.
All right, so Shorts. All right, I'm just going to test this because I want to. Okay, so first DJI Mini
that's mine. Yeah.
Pro drone holding my camera over the edge. Hang on, I'll turn the volume down. Holding my camera over the edge for the shot.
Wait, I'm doing it in real time.
I hate when the guy. I hate I hate when the guy asks if he could use the other. It's got a woman in it, but I'm not quite sure what the theme of the video is. I did a collab with Lexi and Pearson, some sort of dancing handheld 6-second exposure. Well, the Air 3 to
this has obviously been swayed by my DJI, recent DJI kind of research. But keep on going, like bang through those.
My friend, she gained so much weight. How does it feel that your sister bought an R8? It feels like dirty money, but I like it. My dad waking everyone up on Christmas morning. DJI Mini Pro. The ride is still running. A roller coaster. Are you single? No, I have a boyfriend, but I'm still ready to mingle. Oh no, I said, where's the Pringles?
All right.
Main camera.
Okay.
Anyway, here's a Michael Jackson lookalike. And 3D billboard animations. So far, no hand jobs.
Okay, I've just done one. I've gone through 3 DJI videos, and now there is a woman. The whole video is she's pretending to spit out a liquid that looks like sperm into her mouth, and then suck it back in.
Like I said, it's
I got the same DJI ones too. You scroll down a bit further. Look at that.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
It's the same feed.
I didn't. No, I haven't. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it knows.
It does not know.
I think it knows that you're
linked account.
You're a dirty old bastard.
Look, I've got a parking spot one. I'm just saying that. Okay, let's just be objective about this, right?
All right. So all right. Just to be fair, I've got a girl on a short at the moment who I don't know what she's saying, but I have no idea what she's about to say, but I'll play it through the.
Do me a favour really quickly. Okay, look at me. Good. Now look at the caption. That's a good boy.
Yeah, look. Don't fight me on this, Andy, because you will lose. You know this is how it works, right? And there is like you think about the guy making box forts. Think about the women who are getting paid inordinate amount of money and attention to pretend they have cum in their mouth for a YouTube short.
All right. Well, let's course correct this this segment of the chat.
I'm just saying there's also the algorithm promoting them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So is it good quality? Well, Shorts is like, I think, a step in the gutter, right? So that's hacking our kind of primal sort of inability to
look away.
Like, yeah. So yeah, I kind of get that, right? I do think though that the formula as it relates to, or the algorithm as it relates to sort of the standard kind of YouTube, I don't know. I kind of think that's good. Like, because of course, like the added dimension here is that this has sort of created like a creator economy, right? Because the creators get paid, right, for a certain number of views, and they want to kind of get promoted by the algorithm, so they make videos that respond to what people will watch. I think for shorts, that becomes very, very in the gutter very, very quickly. But at the same time, like, you know, I don't know, there's a lot of like fairly high quality productions that are exponentially more than we had, and very useful videos, and exponentially better than what we would have had either without the algorithm or without the sort of that being paid sort of aspect of YouTube. So I do think that, yes, it's different to like a 2-hour long movie that we maybe would have watched in the past, or that maybe is a higher art form or whatever. But I think there's a role for the 5-minute video that shows you how to, you know, change the light bulb in your car or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I wanted to go to next. Like, what do you use YouTube for? Like, it's not a replacement at this point in time for more dramatic or entertainment-based kind of shows, right? Or movies. For me, what is it for you?
I think
what
it is for some. Yeah, I think it is, just to that point. I think it is for kids. We can maybe talk about kids in a moment, but for me, I just the fact that there's not a single topic in the universe that there isn't a YouTube, like a plethora of YouTube videos on. So whether you're trying to make a decision about which type of thing to buy, right? So you want to buy a car, and you're tossing up between car A and car B, there will be hundreds of videos like showing you inside the car what it's like, how it drives,
so
which one's better.
Like, the reason that the feed is full of DJI videos is because literally this week, recently, like within a week, DJI has released a new drone, and immediately, like the day after, there are reviews comparing it, and the information is so targeted and so accurate now. It's amazing. Like, the power it gives the consumer is really amazing. I can only think that companies like Choice or whatever must be pulling their hair out, because this is their whole business model.
Can't compete. Yeah, and look, those sort of product review things are really actually helpful, because hopefully they do help you make a decision, but they also I do think there's also this benefit of having that confidence in your decision, that post decision sort of confirmation bias sort of type thing, where you feel better, you feel good about your decision. You're not second guessing yourself. That's quite good. I guess the other thing is like a lot of educational sort of videos too, right? Learning how to do something. It's way easier to watch a YouTube video to learn how to do something, especially if it's just something like a quick thing you want to know how to do. There's no better way. Like, it's just the fact that there's content creators out there making videos for every little bizarre, and there's always this like, I don't know if you ever have a situation where your car battery goes flat, or you go to the mechanics or something, and they have to change the battery or whatever, so something like that, and it resets the time on your resets your stereo. And I think it's got like the security thing where to try and prevent people from stealing these like car stereos. So, well, that's probably a thing of the past now, I imagine. But I think they used to have this security key you had to enter in to make it functional once the power gets disconnected. And in my car, it's like, so from time to time it always happens. And I go back to this same video it's like my car's like more than 10 years old. So it's this same video of this same Indian guy from like 2013. It's really dodgy. It's like it's a dodgy production, but it works every time. I can do it. Like, I can do whatever bizarre thing I have to do to get it to work again. And it's amazing that exists.
I must admit,
right?
like, we spoke about this. I have been trying to put myself in the beginner mindset the whole of last year, right? I picked up so many new things for the first time: boxing, archery, rifles, all this kind of stuff. I picked up skateboarding back again, and doing it this time around with things like YouTube. When you can see things in slow motion, you have access to expert coaches. It's incomparable. Like, this being able to see the world's best, the world champion archery, kind of target archery, compound bow user, talk you through how to do something. It's like the world we're living in around this stuff, if you have the appetite for it, it's just, like the opportunities are incredible.
Maybe turn to kids, right? Use of YouTube, right? Are any of your kids using YouTube regularly?
They started to want to. They've started to want to watch YouTube videos a lot more, right? Like almost, it's like the lolly, right? Like they almost know that they can't have it, or that I don't like them having it. And so it makes them want it more. And the reason that is because I don't feel in control when my daughter or son watches YouTube. And I don't have time. One of the reasons they're watching TV is because I don't have time to interact with them directly. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for me, right? And yes, there's a lot of great things on YouTube, but there is so much trash, and even more worrying, there's actual content that is bad for them, that could even traumatize them. And I'm not being dramatic there. There actually is. And there's been lots of examples of that happening. So I don't like them watching YouTube. I find it, I find it just not appropriate. I know you probably have very different views on that, given how much your son has grown up on YouTube, and he gets fairly free range of.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'll give the counter. Just a couple of things. So I do kind of agree with parts of what you said, but I would probably be much less risk averse on it. So, and I think partially it depends on the kid as well. So I know that my son can handle anything that he's watching on YouTube, right? And when I say I know he can handle it, like if there's something like a video that isn't, the intent of it is to be scary or something, he almost like finds it funny, right? like not in a sadistic kind of way, but like if he watches something and I'm worried, what if he'll have like nightmares from that thing? It was, he can place, I know that he places it in the right, like he won't get scared of it, right? Because there's heaps of like video games with jump scares and stuff like that in it, and that doesn't affect him in any kind of way, and I know that of him. So if he was a lot more sensitive about things like that, that might be different, but I know that he's fairly resilient to all that sort of stuff. Then as for like, then I guess, so then that stuff I'm not concerned about. Then it's like, okay, was there anything like predatory or, kind of malicious that's, but then I do think YouTube is actually pretty good at filtering a lot of that stuff out. And they know that they need to kind of protect this. And the algorithm, the benefit of it is that it only takes like a small number of complaints about something and they'll pull it, right? Or negative reactions to something, or like the other algorithm can pick up how its users are reacting to it because it's collecting so much metadata. So it is pretty good at picking that stuff up. So I have to say, like, there's a lot of stuff which I think is sort of borderline, maybe not age appropriate, but it's probably just age appropriateness rather than that it's malicious. And I haven't really seen him watching anything that's.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying. And I think there's obviously for our listeners that have heard us speak about our children, your son's older, right? And so as the older, every day he gets older, the safer he is online. And that's a fact of growing up in the internet age, right? So it's a bit different. My daughter being a fair bit younger than your son, right? That comes with age and experience and how to deal with those. Like you said, how to place those things, right? Like my daughter still gets scared watching movies, right? Like if there are certain scenes and stuff like that, I don't imagine your son would have the same reaction, whether it be YouTube or a movie, right? And so I think that's a relevant kind of comparison to call out, and like you know your own child, and he can handle that. My second part, and I do think that the moral panic of like some weird demon, every now and then you hear about like some demon being cut into a children's video of baby Finn or Cocomelon, telling them to, if they don't cut themselves, their dad's going to die or something horrible like that. I think those are mainly moral panic and far and few between. They are real, but they're the likes of your child being traumatized by that are close to nothing, right? I'm more concerned that of the age appropriateness aspect, like you said. They're just, some of them are just age appropriateness. And then when you sit down and you listen to some of the content creators, especially the very young content creators, which get served up to kids, they're assholes. They're inane, they're stupid, and I feel like they are not good role models and not good teachers for kids. I like if you sit down and you listen to some of these people, or even like Twitch streamers and stuff, and like what they're saying, how they're narrating things, their general attitude, what they find funny, what they find valuable, it's just not someone that you would pick to, well, the ones I've seen anyway. And I'm probably being very, very unfair to this segment of the of media, but I've got to tell you, they're not people I would pick to spend time with my kids.
Well, I think this is the other thing where it depends what kind on your kid as well, because it depends what kind of videos they're watching, right? So, and what kind of rabbit warrens they get down, because if they're watching videos and they just keep getting served up and they're down the rabbit warren of the, who can slag off other people in the most harshest way, and then they're in that kind of genre or niche, whatever, then yeah, of course. But I got to say, that's not my experience with the YouTube that my son watches, right? So definitely there's like gamers and stuff that they've got this smart ass.
Yeah, you know what I mean? The type, right? Even when they're not obscene.
Yeah,
right?
but that's just, but at the same time, that's
what,
just
the culture.
It's not malicious. Some are malicious, but not the ones that my son gets served up, right? It's more just like there's a certain way that they talk or whatever, but it doesn't cross any boundaries, right? It's probably more that I would say is more like an age appropriateness thing. So in the case of my son, it's probably my son exposed to kind of a high school way of talking,
like that bro talk,
when he's not in high school, right? So there's that, but it's not bad. But that's like one portion of what he watches. But then when I see the other stuff he watches, like I got to say, like if I would definitely say that like it's at YouTube for me is educational, right? And it is for him too. He just is just like a sponge, right? And he's watching all these like educational videos, and he doesn't even know that they're educational. They're like videos
That's
of like
a double-edged sword, though. That I'm talking about.
No, but like there's so many things he knows that I would never have known. Like there's no way I would have known at my age, when I was his age, right? And there's just so many things like that, because he's watching these science ones, these ones where people are building shit, like doing kind of explosions and like, in a not a terrorist kind of way, but in a sciencey kind of way. It's good. Like I honestly, I think he
when I hear you talking about that, I don't disbelieve it for a second that there's that kind of content out there. But my experience, and just to give it a flavor, right? Just to give a flavor of what I'm talking about, of what I've seen. It's like the kids will be around, my sister's kids and my kids will be around watching TV, and it'll be like a hamster, right, trying to navigate a maze. And it's like literally just like a real life hamster kind of going through a maze. And it's like, okay, it's innocent enough. I don't know why it's so captivating, but okay, look, cool, whatever, innocent. Finish this hamster video that has like 40 million views, and then it'll go to a streamer playing Super Mario on the Switch console with their little picture-in-picture overlay, and they're talking fairly innocently, but every time they get a prize or they beat something, they yell out bodega, like at the top of their voice. I don't know what that means. I don't know why they're yelling out bodega, but the kids are dying with laughter every time he does it. And then that's all he's doing. He's playing the game and yelling out bodega, and the kids are loving it. And I don't know if we're just too old to understand. Maybe that's the point. But to me, I'm like, this is not like this can't be, this can't be the way.
Yeah, but like think back to some of the shows that you would have been fed up when you were at school, after school, watching free-to-air TV. It was equally rubbish. It might have been more sophisticated in some dimensions, like it might have been more like higher production value, like in relative terms, like in the context of the time or whatever. It might have been that the creators thought they were doing something special, but it was like probably pretty shit, right? Like I think of like a show like Power Rangers. Right? You remember that show? That is like, there's no value in that show. There's no educational substance. It's the same story every single episode. That is like utter gutter trash, right? And the only difference between that and the kinds of videos that we're talking about here on YouTube is that the YouTube video goes for a few minutes and then they feed up something better. Whereas you get a full 23 minutes.
This bodega video made the Power Rangers seem like a fucking Grammy-winning. I see what you're trying to say. I do, and I'm trying. Look, I am really trying to be open-minded, and the very fact that the kids love it so much, you have to almost try to empathize with. They're doing something right? You know, there's obviously some kind of secret source here that an adult doesn't understand.
But can I give you a earlier in the series we talked about the internet, right, and kind of using the internet for the first time, and I think you sort of said, "Oh, it was this like wild west, like the early days of the internet." And imagine if your parents said to you, "We just don't want you accessing the internet because we don't know what's on there and we don't know what you're looking at." Right?
They fucking should have. Do you know the shit that we saw?
No, but like you got to take the good with the bad, right? There was the bad, but then that's how you.
They're bad though. Andy was out of ignorance. They didn't know. They didn't know, right? Like, and if they did,
that's how you became computer literate, right? You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right?
No, you wouldn't ban it though, but you'd make sure that they weren't looking up, Two Girls, One Cup, and just watching that on repeat.
Well, did it harm you?
I'm still dealing with it.
But look, the point is like no one wants to watch the palette of videos watched by in my case my 10-year-old son, but whatever. Like that's just I don't want to watch those videos, right? Although sometimes I do get hooked in because they're funny or there's a good one or whatever. But generally speaking, I'm not going to sit down and watch the same ones. So I can't monitor it, right? So if you can't monitor it, you're left with a decision. You either just the answer is no, you can't ever use it, or at least you can only use it in a very narrow sense, or you just sort of lean into it, right? And I think the corollary with the internet is to say that, well, yeah, okay, there's going to be a lot of shit out there, but then equally, like, well, I don't know about you when you were first using the internet, but I was like looking up shit, like I was learning, and again, I might not have even known I was doing that, right? But you get down because it's just this interesting place where there's so much content and I think you've got like there's some good with the bad, right? There's some bad with the good. This
whole chat is reminding me of like when you stumble across like a really responsible gun advocate and they're just like everything that they're saying, it sounds so reasonable of why you should have guns, right? They're just so dangerous. There's not really like I guess what I'm kind of saying is that.
Yeah, but come on, they're not guns. Like comparing YouTube to
giving a kid free range off this stuff. Like, right? I know, like, don't you feel like you know too much? Okay, put it this way: for every parent that's like you, who is taking a very analytical and measured approach to how to deal with this and understand what your son and kind of understand the balance of good and bad, for every father that's like you, there's 100 more that just give in because their kids want to watch YouTube and they can't be fucked. And it's like, okay, go, whatever. I just can't deal it. Like, it's just another vice and watch. And they don't know what's going on. They don't think about it. They don't do anything. I guarantee that's how it plays out. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Look, I will say this, right? I started off, my first response to the question was, it depends on the kid, depends on a few, like, it's not just a black and white, it's good for all, like I could see how it wouldn't be good for all, and I could see how might have to make some interventions if depending on what they're watching and how they're tracking with it. But equally, but then I can understand, like, I think maybe where you're getting at, it's like once you open Pandora's box,
you're going to fight them.
You can't rein it in,
you can't fight them on it, right?
Yeah. So I kind of get that. But like if it were put to me, if you asked me, I think there's a separate question around screen time and stuff, which I would definitely, so separating the question of screen time and like the amount of screen time, I would definitely, I definitely support or like have views about like limiting screen time in general. But like if we're just talking about like, let's say within a bucket of screen time that a kid has, is it a problem like the mix? What should be the appropriate mix versus like free to air TV versus YouTube versus other streaming platforms? I don't mind YouTube because I just think there are benefits from YouTube that, based on seeing what my son watches, and like to give an example, like Mr. Beast, right? He like let's talk about the actual most popular YouTuber for kids, right? Which is more like Mr. Beast than, say, you know, the kid that just slags off people while he's playing video games, right? Like Mr. Beast videos are good natured, right? They're very positive, like even to the point of like, oh, I want to donate like heaps of money to like help people, and oh, I want to have this like, you know, plant trees thing, right, for my millions or whatever, however many million subscribers sort of thing. So it is those kind of ones are all about positivity, and that's what's actually being watched by kids, right? So I don't think it's like but you will have bad videos, you will have the dodgy videos and swearing from time to time and all that sort of stuff. But I just think it's a wild world out there, and that's
Is there not a way, right? Like at the same time, like if I wanted to severely limit, and I do, YouTube, I feel that there's so much good, really good quality content on the streaming platforms that we have access to, right? And like I know you don't get the same level of incidental instructional video and tangential kind of awareness that you do in YouTube, but are they really missing out on that at a young age? I'm not sure. Like my mind's not totally sold on that just yet. And the thing, right, screen time's been around for ages, like you said, no matter what it's made up from and the issues there. My kind of bigger fear is what I said to you before, where like, what is it doing to the kids in terms of looking up to certain role models and changing the nature of what they want, right? Like I know with my cousins, my nephews and the kids and stuff like that, they think these guys are like heroes. They want to be them. They want to be YouTubers. And whenever you film a video on your phone or you're doing something, they get excited. They're like, oh, you're going to put it on YouTube? Oh, am I going to be on YouTube? Am I going to be a celebrity? Like, see, it's already permeated their consciousness of around like what's cool and where value from like life comes from, right? And I think it's too much too soon. Like I'm concerned about it as a parent.
I think this is a good segue into my experiences at VidCon in Anaheim a couple of months ago. So VidCon is this YouTuber convention, and like the YouTubers that they have, so it's like YouTubers come and then like there's a mix of like fans who come and just want to see their favorite YouTubers, but then there's also,
is it like Comic-Con?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But the one, I mean, not that I've never been to Comic-Con, so I just assume it's a little bit like that. But the one thing that is quite, I wasn't expecting go. So by the way, I went for my son, not for me. But the one element that I wasn't necessarily anticipating was just how many people were there because they wanted to be YouTube famous, right? So they were there as like wannabe creators. So basically the way it worked is you could buy 3 tiers of tickets, right? You could have just the it was called community track, and that's the one we got, which is more just fans. And then they had this like creator track, which was, it was kind of, the creator track tickets were more expensive, but they were geared to people who identified themselves like, as creators. Now, these creators were also fans, right? So they were also like, you know, because that's why they got into it in the first place, because they're into the subculture. But then they had the industry track, which was like people who would stump up like $1,000 to come because they actually work for, you know, a company that actually is serious about this stuff, right? And then they had like the next tier was like people who are actually there in their capacity as a known famous sort of creator or whatever. And there was all these creators around, and they were all, you know, doing their doing their thing, like their vlogging or whatever. And it was just a really weird place to be for 3 days. Like, it was just maybe one of the reasons I've got like almost a positive vibe about like some of these creators my son watches, because like the ones he aspired to see, right? Because you get to meet and greet, right? The ones that he aspired to meet, like this one guy, like he writes music, like he gets on a piano and he's just writing songs like in real time, and he makes fun, and he's actually was really personable. He was really friendly with my son, And like actually like this is like a good role model, right? This guy, like he's playing piano and he's making music and it's totally cool. And there's another guy who's like an animator and he just does animations, right? And the I went and watched one of the videos and like this guy's like, so in real life he's like this nerdy guy, right? Like he's probably in his shell, right? And this is how he gets out. And one of his videos is like this whole thing about maths, right? This big math sequence thing that he's made with an animation. It's like, that's the YouTube world that my son aspires to, that he is involved in. Now that makes him sound like a little bit of he's into like piano and maths, right? Which is not quite true. He's watching a lot of gaming stuff as well. But like, I just can't have a cynical attitude. Like I just can't have like concerned citizen hat on when that's what he's aspiring to.
I think that, like the convention is going to probably weed out the element that I'm talking about in some ways, right?
Oh, not necessarily.
well, that's what I want to ask you, because we haven't really debriefed about that alternate reality, right? Like, and what I wanted to check with you, if I'm thinking of literally hundreds of creators with their own selfie sticks and vlogging cameras and stuff, how much of that kind of like self-centered vapidness was there in the air as well? Like, were you struck by that, or was it a bit more how you're portraying it, which is this kind of more wholesome kind of creation vibe?
Okay, I'll tell you one thing that, and I think this is an interesting element, right, is the on-screen persona is not the same as the in-person persona. Like, these people tend to be, I think, their natural state of being is actually quite shy because they're not famous in the traditional sense of being famous. Like, these are people who have essentially started their YouTube career in the basement or bedroom or whatever, right? And they're not naturally charismatic people. They're people who have like such that, like, usually, like, okay, just maybe to contrast it with a traditional media like story, right, where you want to become an actor, right? You have to be charismatic. Like, that's how you build networks and all that. So it actually weeds out introverts, for example, or people who can't turn it on, right? But YouTube's a bit different because you can, from literally your bedroom, become YouTube famous as long as you can have a persona on the screen, and you might be quite introverted in real life. And so there were some creators who absolutely knew how to turn it on, and there's like the one guy, the guy who does piano, right, actually was really charming, right? He was very, very good, like just a very good people person, right? And but then there's others who were very shy and very and not like how they are on YouTube, because I see some of these videos as well. But the other dimension I wanted to talk about this event is how many people were on the spectrum. There's a lot of people who this is their way of kind of engaging with other people. So it's a little bit different, I think, to how you characterize, right? There's a lot of people who they don't fit in mainstream kind of circles, but this is a world for them that actually works quite well.
Now I'm having a double take on that kid who was yelling bodega out.
I will tell you one thing about VidCon 2023. I have never seen more like as many companion dogs as I saw there, because they're not like guide dogs. These are companion dogs for people who are autistic, right? And they had so many of these companion dogs everywhere. There was that really, and I think you would probably see a similar thing at like a Comic-Con, right? I imagine it would be a similar kind of, people who do that whole what's it called? Where they get dressed up and stuff, cosplay. I think there's a lot of overlap there. But I will say one thing though. There was this. So the ones you got to watch out for, like, are the ones like the adults who have roped their whole families into it, and like they've taken this really kind of like professional approach to it, but they've roped their kids in because they know that they're like the selling point. So there's this one guy, he was just over the top enthusiastic. Like, it was just I don't know, this guy like must be on cocaine or something. Like, he was just over the top kind of crazy, and it's a bit creepy, right? Because I think he started off as a photographer and had a channel as a photographer. And then his daughter must have like been on the video, just as a sidebar or whatever. But then like he probably had that responding to the algorithm thing, and his daughter actually started to get a following. And so now the whole channel is geared around it's meant to be his whole family, but his daughter is like the star of the show. And she's like, I don't know, she's probably like 11 or 12 or something, right? But it's this weird, it's this weird, creepy adult guy, his like 12-year-old daughter, and they're like, yeah, it's a bit weird, right? It was really weird.
Look, I mean, I'm sure it was. And there's nothing wrong with weird, right? Like you said that, I personally, I'm conflicted because I personally love counterculture and I love these kind of corners of the internet. I just, maybe it's just something I need to take another look at. Okay, so you had that experience mainly because of your son when you went to the States on VidCon. What were your thoughts like leaving on it? Like, where is this thing going? Is it like more of the same? Like, what is actually happening with short format? Are we going to, because there was a point in time where I thought the strategy was that YouTube would just be the video platform, and whether you wanted to watch a man getting hit in the nuts by a football or a full 2-hour movie, you could find it there. And for a while I saw them advertising that you could just pay for it, and you could essentially be the one streaming platform to rule them all. But I don't know if it's panned out that way. Do you have a feel of where it's going?
Yeah, and no, I don't think it has. I agree. I was thinking, it would be good if there was just like one unifying sort of video platform where you could, Netflix would be on it, and whatever, and but no, it hasn't eventuated. But we're still in that like platform play phase of the internet as well, I think, too. Like, whether we think we are or not, I mean, the internet's still only like 30 years old or something, so it's still the early days, right? But anyway, I think with YouTube, I think the shorts thing, people will like, it will just find its thing as a distinctly different activity. Like it's maybe now, because it's relatively new, it's kind of viewed in the same space as like a YouTube video, but I think it is a distinctly different activity to sit and watch like those shorts, right? And that's just like, let's just call a spade. That's like the equivalent of taking a drug to make time go quicker, right? That's why people do it, right? They're on the train, they just need the time to pass, and this just makes it pass quicker for them. It's not a wholesome, meaningful activity that people engage in. Whereas I think, and that's one part of YouTube, but actually the piece where you watch like a 5-minute video or a 10-minute video on something, or you might have a creator you like or whatever, that I think is more durable, and I think it will just respond to, I mean, maybe to put it another way, this whole idea of like a 5 or 10-minute video isn't new. So I think we're conditioned to think of like TV as this, but like TV, you would have half an hour or an hour or whatever, or a movie 2 hours. But like when you think about a TV show, let's say a current affair, like even the news, right? The news is just lots of little individual stories back to back, right? Funniest home videos like would just be dodgy shit, like the same thing, just or even lifestyle shows like getaway style, like travel shows, right? It's like they break the half an hour show into like different segments of like, here's your 5-minute video on Tahiti and another 10 minutes on going to Europe. Like that's kind of how TV's been structured. So YouTube's just reflecting how we've always enjoyed to watch content, and hopefully maybe even the shorts thing will kind of disambiguate this is where you get the like the viral shit, and like it's just all about back to back videos, and this is the thing where you can actually watch something a little bit more wholesome, and maybe that would even be a good thing. But yeah, I definitely think there's been a little bit of an erosion of attention span. Like my son can't be bored, for example, like, and I know that's not good. Like I think kids should be able to, being bored is like part of human existence, and I think that's probably for kids these days because they can't handle being bored because there's so much stimulation in their lives. Whereas I don't know about you, but I just remember being really bored growing up, like having periods of just I don't have anything to do, like there's nothing to do.
Do you think kids like are so stimulated these days they don't even have imaginary friends? Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, I think that's we should wrap up there.